They tell you that you are free. They tell you that humanity has risen from caves to skyscrapers, from stone tools to satellites, from tribes of hunters to empires of reason. You nod, you repeat it, you believe it. But deep inside, something gnaws. If we are free, why does everything feel like a leash? And listen carefully, because in this video, you'll uncover what no teacher, no parent, no leader ever told you. You'll see how invisible systems bend your instincts without force, how symbols and rituals control your mind more deeply than any cage, and most importantly, how to reverse the script to make these same hidden rules work for you. By the end, you'll know exactly how obedience is manufactured, how power disguises itself as civility, and how a man can walk among the herd as if untouchable. Miss even a minute, and you'll remain another cog in their design. Watch to the end or keep obeying without knowing why. Think about the simplest ritual of your day. A glowing red circle on a pole, the traffic light. You stop your car, even when the road is empty. No guard, no chains, no threat. Just a colored light, and yet your muscles freeze, your will bends, your body obeys. Is this freedom or is it training? Step into an office tower. Watch how men in suits lower their voices when the manager walks by. The boss doesn't need to raise his hand, doesn't need to roar like an alpha wolf. The silence alone is submission. In religion, a robe or a sacred word is enough to make millions kneel. In courtrooms, the black robe of a judge is treated as divine armor. Invisible signals, invisible rules, and every civilized human falls in line. Civilization praises itself as progress. But progress for whom? The man who built the pyramid, or the thousands who died carrying stones? The king who sits on the throne, or the villagers who bow until their spines crack? We wear clean clothes, speak polite words, obey subtle codes, and call it dignity. But underneath, it is nothing but obedience dressed in silk. Animals are whipped into obedience by pain. Humans are trained into obedience by symbols. The leash is no longer leather. It is language. The cage is no longer metal. It is belief. You don't see it because you were born inside it. You don't fight it because you were told it is safety. You defend it because you were programmed to. Ask yourself, when you stand at a traffic light, when you lower your voice in the office, when you cross yourself in church, when you pay taxes you never agreed to, are you choosing? Or are you performing like a pet who long ago forgot the whip, but still fears the master's shadow? This is the paradox. Civilization is not freedom. It is a grand experiment in control. Its strength is not in armies or prisons, but in teaching men to build their own cages and call it home. You believe you are evolved, but you are still ruled by the same instincts as the wolf, the same fear as the ape. Only the chains have changed their shape. So I ask you, are you free? Or are you just a well-trained animal, bowing to the invisible rules of a cage too large to see? You believe you walk free because you see no bars. But the most effective cage is the one invisible to the prisoner. That is civilization's genius. It hides control in rituals, etiquette, and symbols so ordinary that you never question them. Consider the handshake. A simple gesture, but in it lies centuries of programming. You extend your hand not because you want to, but because the script of politeness demands it. A bow in Japan, a nod in the West, a kiss on the ring of a priest. All are signals that say, I know my place. They are leashes disguised as respect. Think of uniforms. Why does a grown man obey another grown man simply because of a piece of cloth? The police officer's badge, the soldier's insignia, the doctor's coat, symbols trigger obedience in your brain before reason has time to speak. You don't argue with the badge. You submit to it. You don't test the uniform, you defer to it. Centuries of conditioning whisper, obey or suffer exile. Even language itself is a leash. You call a stranger sir or madam, not because you respect them, but because culture programmed the script into your tongue. You queue in lines, wait your turn, pay respect to invisible hierarchies, and you think this is courtesy. But courtesy is nothing more than obedience packaged as virtue. The truth is simple and cruel. What you call freedom is a carefully engineered illusion. Society does not need to chain you when it can persuade you. Why waste force when ritual does the same work? Why build cages of iron when cages of belief are stronger? Watch a courtroom. Nobody forces silence. Yet when the judge enters, every person stands, every voice falls. The robe, the gavel, the architecture itself. These are not ornaments, they are weapons of obedience. The ritual enslaves without you noticing. Look closer at your own life. The job you keep, the tax you pay, the rules you follow, are they choices, or are they performances demanded by a system that punishes deviation? Try breaking etiquette. Cut the line, refuse a handshake, ignore a title. You will feel the invisible whip instantly. Disapproval, shame, exile. The punishment of the herd is enough to keep you in place. This is the invisible cage. It has no guards, no bars, no walls. And that is why it is unbreakable for most. You don't rebel because you don't even see it. You defend it because you were taught that obedience equals morality, that ritual equals respect, that law equals order. And so you mistake submission for virtue. You call conformity good manners. You call obedience being civilized. But in truth, you are nothing more than a well-trained animal, performing tricks for the approval of the herd. Civilization whispers, you are free. But the reality is harsher. You are only free to obey. Strip away the suits, the titles, the rituals, and what remains? Predator in denial. Civilization did not kill the animal inside you. It only dressed it in manners. Beneath your polished mask, instincts gnash their teeth, waiting for cracks in the performance. You like to believe you are rational, but your brain is not built for reason. It is built for survival. Look closer, and you will see the wolf and the ape staring back from the mirror. The hunger for dominance, the craving for approval, the fear of exile. All are the same instincts that ruled your ancestors when they lived in caves. Status is still your oxygen. You call it success, but it is the same primal hierarchy of wolves. You seek the corner office, the luxury car, the glowing screen of followers. Not because they matter, but because they are the modern antlers, the bright feathers, the dominance displays that mark your place in the tribe. When others admire, you feel alive. When others ignore, you feel invisible. Strip away the labels, and it is nothing but the ancient craving. See me or I die. Fear of rejection is your invisible leash. You obey not because laws are moral, but because you fear the sting of being cast out. Look at your behavior. The jokes you laugh at even when they bore you, the silence you hold when you want to scream, the mask you wear just to be accepted. It is not reason that controls you. It is the herd. Alone, the animal perishes. Together, it survives. And so you obey. Your instincts betray you in ways you don't notice. You lower your voice before an authority. You laugh nervously when higher status enters the room. You follow the crowd even when it walks into disaster. These are not choices. They are survival reflexes. Your rational mind is the mask, but the animal mind is the puppeteer. Dominance and submission, these are the real currencies of your existence. Watch an office meeting. Who speaks first? Who interrupts? Who avoids eye contact? Watch a party. Who commands attention? Who hovers at the edges? These are the same primal games played by apes around the fire. Only the costumes have changed. And exile is still your deepest fear. That is why the opinion of strangers online wounds you. That is why silence at the table burns worse than violence. Your nervous system reads rejection as death because for the ape within it once was. Cast out of the tribe meant starvation, predators, extinction. That fear still lives in your marrow. Civilization flatters you with words like enlightened and advanced. But beneath the mask, the truth is raw. You are a wolf in a suit, an ape holding a smartphone, a pack animal pretending to be free. The rational mind may whisper of reason, but the primal mind roars louder. Submit, obey, belong. You can deny it, but you cannot escape it. The animal still rules. Obedience is the oldest religion. Before gods, before laws, before nations, there was the primal instinct to kneel before the stronger. Civilization did not erase this instinct. It weaponized it. What was once the survival code of tribes became the foundation of empires. Look around you. Every institution thrives on obedience. Religion demands you bow to an invisible master. Corporations demand you kneel before the logo and the boss. Governments demand you submit to badges, robes, and flags. Each of these is a leash disguised as virtue. Why do you obey? Because symbols trick your animal brain. A police badge, a judge's robe, a general's medals. These are costumes designed to activate submission reflexes. The wolf bows to the alpha's growl. The human bows to the uniform's authority. It is not logic that makes you comply, it is instinct. Your body stiffens, your voice lowers, your eyes avert. The leash is invisible, but it pulls just the same. Religion perfected this game. By inventing gods, priests ensured endless obedience. The ultimate alpha was invisible, untouchable, unquestionable. And so men knelt, not before spears, but before words. Corporations copied the script. Branding turned logos into sacred symbols, rituals into company culture. Obedience became loyalty. Disobedience became sin. Governments, too, thrive on obedience cults. You obey traffic lights even at midnight on empty roads. You pay taxes not because you want to, but because punishment lurks. Every anthem, every flag, every courtroom oath is a ritual of submission. The herd kneeling together, synchronized. Civilization calls this order. But order is just domination wrapped in ritual. Luxury brands expose the obedience cult most nakedly. A simple handbag, stitched for a fraction of its price, becomes a symbol of dominance. Why? Because it signals hierarchy. Your animal brain sees it as plumage, a peacock's tail, a lion's mane. And so, without thinking, people obey status the same way wolves obey alphas. The truth is brutal. Obedience has been industrialized. Institutions harvest your primal need to submit and sell it back to you as morality, professionalism, patriotism. You are taught that obedience is noble. But noble for whom? Not for you, for the ruler, the priest, the CEO. Civilization is not progress. It is a machine that feeds on your instincts, weaponizing your deepest fears and hungers. It tells you that obedience is virtue while draining your sovereignty drop by drop. You bow, you kneel, you serve, and you call it order. But it is only domination in disguise. The cult of obedience thrives because the animal within you still craves hierarchy. Civilization did not civilize you. It simply taught you to kneel without chains. Freedom is the prettiest illusion civilization ever sold. From childhood you are told, you are unique, you are free, you can be anything you want. But what is this freedom, really? Look closely, and you will see the cage hidden behind the bright slogans. Every thought you call your own was planted. Your fashion, your taste in music, your career goals, even your political opinions, all were handed to you by systems that profit from your obedience. You think you chose your dream job? No, the market shaped your desire. You think you picked your style? No, advertisers programmed you. You think your beliefs are sacred? No, they are borrowed slogans repeated until they feel like truth. Consumerism is the loudest preacher of this false gospel. Walk into a store and you are offered choices. 10 brands of cereal, 50 colors of phones, 1,000 models of shoes. Yet all these choices lead to the same end: consumption, debt, conformity. The cage is painted in many colors, so you mistake variety for freedom. But it is still a cage. The animal herd believes it is unique, even as it moves in perfect synchronization. Fashion trends sweep across nations. Suddenly millions dress the same, speak the same, dream the same. The herd thinks it chose, but the choice was engineered. Social media perfected this trap. The algorithm does not give you freedom. It gives you dopamine cages. You scroll, you click, you repeat. Your brain is trained like a lab rat pressing a lever for pellets. You believe you are exploring freely, but invisible walls guide your every move. Even rebellion is scripted. The clothes of the outsider, the slogans of the rebel, the music of the counterculture. All of it is packaged and sold. You are not breaking free when you buy the uniform of rebellion. You are simply kneeling to a different master. Civilization whispers, you are an individual. But reality screams, you are a programmable machine. The same primal obedience that once bowed to the alpha wolf now bows to the glowing screen, the fashion brand, the political slogan. You are free only in the same way a cow is free to graze, as long as it stays within the fence. True freedom is not given, cannot be granted by governments, markets, or gods. It must be seized by stripping away the illusions, layer by layer, until you see the raw truth. You are not unique until you burn the programming. You are not free until you reject the script. The myth of individuality is the most elegant leash ever forged. You do not even feel the chain because you call it your personality. But remember this, the herd believes in its uniqueness. The predator knows the herd lies. Civilization preaches equality, but reality whispers hierarchy. No matter how loudly the herd shouts about fairness, every human group organizes itself like a pack of wolves. Alphas at the top, betas scrambling for approval, omegas enduring the bottom. The slogans of equality are painted on the walls of the cage, but inside, the law of dominance remains untouched. Look at any classroom. The teacher may claim all students are equal, but a shadow pyramid forms instantly. The dominant child who controls the room with confidence, the clique that follows, the quiet ones who orbit, and the scapegoat who absorbs the cruelty. Nothing is written, nothing is voted on, yet everyone knows their place. The same pattern haunts the workplace. A company preaches teamwork, inclusivity, flat structures. Yet in every meeting, the room silently arranges itself. The alpha speaks, others nod. Titles and salaries are just masks for an older truth. Power gravitates upward, submission flows downward. The herd instinct obeys before the conscious mind even notices. Even in politics, where equality is worshipped as sacred, the shadow hierarchy rules. Elections are sold as the triumph of the people's will, but the masses do not rule. They merely select which alpha will wear the crown. Behind the curtain, elites form their own pyramid, financiers, power brokers, shadow rulers. The herd believes it chose. In truth, it was herded. The myth of equality is the greatest camouflage for hierarchy. It comforts the herd to believe no one is above them, yet they bow daily to bosses, leaders, celebrities, and unseen elites. They laugh at the idea of kings while worshipping influencers. They reject monarchy, yet kneel to billionaires. The wolf wears new clothes, but the teeth remain the same. Even in rebel groups, the pyramid forms. Watch an anarchist collective, a band, a sports team. Someone always takes command, whether they admit it or not. The hierarchy of shadows is not created by systems. It is written into the animal code of humans. Civilization does not erase it. It merely hides it behind words like equality, democracy, and fairness. This is the Machiavellian truth. The herd craves hierarchy. Most do not want freedom, they want to follow. They long for an alpha to obey, because obedience feels safe. The cage of equality comforts them, while the shadow pyramid guides them. And here lies the paradox. To see the pyramid is to step outside of it. To deny it is to remain a pawn. Those who pretend all are equal are already slaves. Those who embrace hierarchy begin to climb. Civilization promises light, but the shadows reveal the truth. Control is rarely enforced by chains. It is maintained by illusions. The rulers of the herd do not always carry whips. They carry symbols. A crown, a uniform, a title, or even a silence heavy enough to crush the air. The herd does not bow to force first. It bows to perception. A man in plain clothes is ignored. That same man in a police uniform becomes a god of authority. The fabric changes, the obedience follows. Why? Because humans are animals programmed to recognize dominance signals. Wolves bare teeth. Apes puff their chests. Humans wear badges and tailored suits. The herd obeys. Consider how leaders use silence. An alpha speaks less, but commands more. A pause in the right moment makes the crowd lean forward, desperate to fill the void. This is not logic, this is animal instinct. The herd obeys those who project calm, unshaken presence. Body language enslaves more than weapons. The confident stride, the upright posture, the unwavering gaze. These are ancient codes, older than language itself. You were trained to read them as a child, not by reason but by instinct. When the predator enters the room, the herd feels it before a word is spoken. Even clothing becomes a leash. The CEO's tailored suit, the priest's robe, the general's medals, all are uniforms of dominance. Strip them away and they are just men. Yet the herd sees cloth and bows, because symbols trigger ancient obedience circuits. Titles complete the illusion. Doctor, judge, president. Words become cages. A man could be corrupt, weak, foolish, but if the herd hears the right title, it obeys. These sounds are the modern version of dominance growls. This is the secret. Rulers don't need to be stronger. They need to be seen as stronger. They don't need armies. They need symbols that convince the herd to obey willingly. The contrast is clear. Brute force enslaves bodies for a moment. Perception enslaves minds for a lifetime. And so, the herd lives in chains of air. Invisible, weightless, and impossible to break unless seen. The rulers know this truth well. If you control what the herd sees, you control how the herd obeys. The herd cannot see its cage because the bars are made of symbols. You were taught to obey from childhood. Not with whips, but with stares, grades, uniforms, and rules. If you wish to break free, you must rewire your nervous system, not your politics. The first step is recognition. See the triggers. When you feel yourself shrink before a title, a uniform, a crowd's judgment, pause. Ask yourself, am I obeying reason, or am I obeying programming? Awareness is the first knife that cuts the invisible leash. The second step is rejection training. The animal inside you fears exile more than death. Society weaponizes this fear. To break it, you must practice rejection like a soldier hardens skin to pain. Speak an unpopular truth. Walk away from approval. Endure the silence when no one claps. Each act weakens the herd's chain around your throat. The third step is silence. The weak fill air with noise. The strong bend air with stillness. Practice entering a room and saying nothing. Sit in discomfort. Hold your calm as others fidget. This rewires your body away from prey anxiety into predator presence. The fourth step is detachment. The herd is addicted to reacting, to gossip, to fear, to every flicker of dominance around them. Stop reacting. When insulted, do not twitch. When pressured, do not rush. When ordered, wait. Detachment makes you untouchable. The predator is not the one who roars the loudest, but the one who stays unmoved while others panic. Breaking obedience is not rebellion for rebellion's sake. It is mastery over instinct. Most men think they are free while bowing to invisible triggers. But once you see them, once you strip them bare, the power shifts. The badge is just metal. The robe is just cloth. The title is just noise. The contrast is sharp. Blind obedience is the cage. Conscious rebellion is the key. But breaking the program is not enough. A wolf that escapes the leash is still hunted unless it learns to rule. The next step is not survival but sovereignty. Breaking obedience frees you. But freedom alone is weakness unless you learn to wield it. A wolf that escapes the leash but does not learn to lead will starve or be hunted down. Civilization respects only two roles, the predator and the prey. To ascend, you must project dominance without noise. Do not confuse control with force. Force is what the desperate use when influence fails. The true predator controls with presence. A steady gaze, calm breathing, and measured silence bend more wills than a scream ever could. Fear is a tool, but like fire, it must be used sparingly. Burn too bright and you expose yourself. Burn too little and you're ignored. The predator balances both, calm as stone, yet able to strike without hesitation. People fear unpredictability, and a calm predator radiates that tension. Silent, composed, but dangerous. Symbols are weapons. Wear them. The herd is programmed to obey uniforms, titles, and status markers. You need not worship them, you wield them. A tailored suit, a well-timed pause, the aura of someone who never rushes. These are modern fangs. The herd obeys what it perceives as authority, not what is true authority. Learn to project both. Control without force means orchestrating perception. Make others think it was their idea. Let them feel free while walking the path you laid. The predator does not drag the prey. The prey walks into its own trap, believing it was safe all along. The key is calm consistency. Anyone can roar once, but the herd obeys the figure that is steady, unshaken, immovable. Storms impress for a moment, mountains rule for centuries. The contrast is now complete. You can live bowing like prey, reacting, obeying, submitting, or you can walk as sovereign predator, bending perception, wielding fear with precision, and commanding obedience without lifting a hand. This is not rebellion anymore. It is rule. Civilization is a lie wrapped in polished walls and painted with symbols. You were told that progress made you free, that reason made you higher than beasts, that society lifted you above instinct. But strip away the suits, the offices, the rituals, and the truth glares back. Humanity is still a cage of trained animals, kneeling to the sound of whistles, obeying the colors of lights, submitting to the weight of uniforms. The herd bows not because it chooses to, but because it is programmed to. Fear, desire, rejection, reward, the same levers used to train dogs and horses still guide human obedience. Civilization did not kill the animal within you. It simply tamed it, made it walk in circles, and called that obedience morality. But the predator is not dead. It waits. Every time you hesitate to speak your mind, every time you kneel to authority without thought, every time you bite back rage instead of using it, you feel the bars of the invisible cage. Yet, in those same moments, you can feel the predator breathing under your skin. Most will never wake up. They will spend their lives chasing carrots tied to sticks, mistaking chains for jewelry, applauding their obedience as if it were virtue. They are not citizens. They are pets. But you are faced with a choice. To continue as prey, programmed, obedient, civilized in name but shackled in reality. Or to embrace the ancient truth. Freedom is not given. It is taken. Dominance is not asked for. It is projected. Power is not shared. It is seized. Civilization is nothing more than an animal cage with golden bars. You can polish those bars and call it progress. Or you can break them, step out, and wear the crown of the animal king. Because the herd bows to symbols. The predator walks alone.